with the provisions of the law as they relate to eligibility to vote. The second implication is that the Commission is enjoined to publish an election timetable following consultation with the National Political Liaison Committee. This political consultation was conducted on 23rd February 2024, paving the way for the publication of the timetable. Accordingly, the 2024 timetable was published on Saturday, 24th of February 2024. The election timetable is the motive force in the intensive preparations for the delivery of the 2024 general elections. The timetable outlines all key cut-off times and dates for the performance of salient electoral activities. The timetable contains crucial performance dates for election contestants as well as the broad voting public. As regards the voting public, the focal point is assessing the voting process through special arrangements, including dates for applications for special votes and notifications to vote outside a voting station of registration. As it pertains to contestants, the timetable is equally crucial in that it contains key dates to be complied with relating to the nomination of candidates and the payment of prescribed deposits. To give further details on the timetable, the Commission brings the following important activities and cut-off dates to the attention of South Africans. The provisional voters' roll will be published for inspection from today. An electronic version of the voters' roll will be made available at all offices of the Commission for inspection purposes. Those who wish to object to the inclusion or exclusion of a voter on the voters' roll must do so by the 4th of March 2024. The objections received on or before 4th March will be considered, investigated, and determined by the Commission by the 11th of March this year. It is important to remind role players that objections to the voters' roll are governed by the law. As such, both procedural as well as substantive requirements of Section 15 of the Electoral Act must be satisfied when lodging an objection. The pertinent aspects in this regard include outlining the relief sought and establishing the basis for such relief, as well as serving the objection on the person against whom the objection is raised. Following the determination of the voters' roll objections, the Chief Electoral Officer will certify the voters' roll on 12 March 2024. Electronic copies of the certified voters' roll will be made available to contestants, and a printed copy will be prepared for use in voting stations on election day. This is a landmark election marking 30 years of electoral democracy, but it also introduces novel experiences for voters, such as the third ballot in the national and provincial elections, as well as participation of independent candidates for the very first time. For purposes of candidate nomination, the Commission promotes the use of the online candidate nomination system. It is convenient and facilitates compliance with the requirements of the law, as it provides a compliance dashboard for users. Furthermore, the online platform generates pro forma invoices and a payment gateway for the payment of the prescribed election deposits. All independent candidates and political parties who intend to contest this general election must submit nomination documents and requirements by 1700 hours on the 8th of March 2024. The Electoral Commission will, after verifying the submitted nomination documents, issue notices of non-compliance where such are warranted. These notices will be issued on the 18th of March, and those issued with such notices must rectify non-compliance by the 20th of March of this year. In previous elections, there were candidates who were nominated by more than one political party. The law now obliges the Commission to notify affected parties and offer them an opportunity to either remove the said candidate and substitute or confirm their continued candidature. These notifications will be issued on the 22nd of March, and political parties will have until the 25th of March to submit requests for removal, substitution, or confirmations of candidature. Our electoral landscape acknowledges that it is a matter of immense national importance for citizens to know who the nominated candidates are. The publication of the provisional list of candidates goes to the heart of the vote based on informed choice. Therefore, the provisional list of candidates will be published for inspection on the 26th and 27th of March this year. Interested parties may object against certain prospective candidates who are nominated. Such objections must be lodged with the Commission on 27 March 2024. The Commission will decide on these objections by the 28th of March. Any person or political party or entity that is not satisfied with the decision of the Commission may approach the Electoral Court to appeal the objection decision. The Electoral Court's appeals must be lodged by the 2nd of April 2024. The Electoral Court will determine appeals relating to candidates on 9 April 2024. With all compliance matters and objections relating to candidates resolved, the Commission will publish the final list of candidates on 10 April 2024, and certificates of candidature will be issued to certified candidates on 12 April this year. The conclusion of the candidate nomination process will set in motion the ballot paper printing project. The official list of the 23,292 voting stations to be used in these elections will be availed for inspection on the 12th of April. The list will include the addresses of voting stations, as well as stopping points and stopping times of the 33 mobile voting stations that we have in the country. The project of constructing this voting station is well advanced. The electoral scheme also provides a dispensation for voters in special circumstances. Those who are infirm and confined and thus unable to reach voting stations must apply to be visited for a special vote at home. On the other hand, those who will not be in their voting districts on the 29th May 2024 may apply for a special vote to cast ballots ahead of Election Day. Both home visits and voting station-based special votes will happen on 2 days, that being the 27th and the 28th of May of this year. Applications for special votes will close on the 3rd of May 2024. And now, regarding special votes outside of the country, those who intend to vote outside of the country and who are registered on a specific country segment of the voters' roll do not need to give notice to the CEO that they will be voting in that country. The law assumes that they will be voting at the diplomatic mission of registration. However, those registered elsewhere, including locally registered voters who intend to vote at a particular diplomatic mission outside of the country, must give notice to the CEO of their intention to vote in that country. The notice to vote out of the country may be submitted as of today until the 22nd of April 2024. An online notification facility, what is colloquially referred to as a VEC-10, is available on the Commission's website. Special voting at diplomatic missions will happen either on Friday, 17th May 2024, or Saturday, 18th May 2024. The exact date for each diplomatic mission will be determined considering the host country's dominant religious and cultural practices. The Commission re-emphasizes the general principle of election administration, that voters must vote where they are registered. However, in the event a voter intends to be in a different voting district on election day, such a voter must notify the Commission of their intended absence from their voting district and the voting station where they wish to cast their vote. A notification portal will soon be launched for this purpose, and notifications in this regard will close on the 17th of May 2024. The Commission reiterates its willingness and ability to deliver this mammoth national project. The publication of the timetable and the cut-off dates it entails serve as an impetus for the intensification of the preparations. All staff of the Commission stand ready to fulfill their task and thus ensure that the Commission meets its constitutional duties pertaining to the 2024 general elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. Quite a detailed process, the election timetable available for your utilization and to ensure that we miss none of the deadlines. I'm going to open the floor for questions. Introduce yourself, the media house you come from, for any questions of clarity. Also, we'll make available the timetable on the WhatsApp groups of the media just for their convenience. Thank you very much. I'm opening up the floor for questions. I note one hand. Is there any other? Okay, let's proceed, and then we'll pick up the remaining hands. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Raymond from Netwerk 24. I just want to know, how will the ballot paper looks like? How many ballot papers will each voter receive? And can you explain, because I understand that there might be 3 ballot papers. Just explain how it will work and what will you guys do, to educate voters about how the ballot paper will work.
I'm going to take a hand on my left.
Puleli Treaty Jones, ENCA. I wanted to ask, firstly, political parties will be eligible to participate in the elections to date. Do we have figures of how many young people, women and men have registered? And are you working closely with NGOs who are saying they want to volunteer to be observers at some of the voting stations? Thank you.
Zukana Chana from Newsroom Africa. Just the total number of people that have registered since you closed the registration process, and then in terms of the special voter home visits, what education are you doing around that in terms of the elderly in particular being able to be aware that they can apply for a home visit, and where will they be able to do this?
Thank you very much. Let me allow the CEO to deal with those questions. Then we will take the last round of questions. I think I've covered the first hands. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. I'll start and then invite colleagues to add. In terms of the look of the ballot paper and information about, that will be made available, as you've heard in terms of the timetable, we will only have clarity on what needs to go on the ballot paper on the 12th of April. So it's really only after that time that we would be able then to give the necessary pictures and indication to the public of what that looks like. In addition to that, we will certainly at that stage then also ensure that we have the usual processes which enable us to select in a random way before the public as well, who's on the top of the ballot paper and how that sequencing will unfold. So I think that that's in terms of the ballot paper. How many are eligible? Well, as you know, first of all, these elections are open to independent candidates. In addition to that, we have a number of political parties that have registered, some of whom may decide to contest, but not all. And again, we will only have that information once the required time has taken place for the political parties to submit all of their necessary information. And the date for that is in our timetable. The CEO will remind us of what that date is. I'll ask the CEO just to give us the latest information in terms of the registration figures with regard to, and as well as the voters' roll numbers. With regard to the NGO observers, the question was asked how we've been working with civil society organizations of various kinds. We have an online possibility for observer organizations to register with the Commission, and that possibility is still open. At this point, we have over 120 observer organizations that have registered with the Commission, and we certainly make arrangements to provide those observer organizations both with material. We're hoping to have also audio-visual material as well as the printed material, as well as to have engagements at the national and provincial levels with the Commission so as to enable their familiarization with the process. In terms of home visits, I'm going to ask that the CEO and the other members of our team can pick that up. Commissioner Masuku, do you want to just pick up on the issue of home visits, or do you want the CEO to start and then you'll add anything else? Commissioner Masuku?
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. In terms of home visits, we are using our usual methods of popularization, one of them being exactly what it is that we're doing right now, which is making it known that they can be visited, that is, they're infirm according to the law, and anyone who doesn't feel fit to show up at a voting station. We also use the field workers that the Electoral Commission has. We have about 3,000 of those that are in communities helping the public to understand that that is a possibility if you are pregnant, or if for any other reason. We don't normally question why people apply for a special vote. We simply say to you, it is a facility that is available, you have to notify us, and then we arrange for somebody to come out and process you there. That is all that I'm going to say on that matter. Thank you.
Okay. Just to add on what Commissioner Love said vis-a-vis the ballot paper, part of the question I thought dealt with what does each ballot paper represent? In other words, what is the functional value of each of the three ballots? I think it's important that we note that the elections of the National Assembly is going to be on the basis of two separate ballot papers. The first ballot paper is what we call a regional ballot. And the regional ballot is intended to elect members of the National Assembly from the 9 provinces. In other words, each province will have a unique regional ballot. And the purpose of that ballot is to ensure that the provincial interest is represented in the national lawmaking body, which is the National Assembly. Independent candidates are going to be appearing on that regional ballot. So it's a province-based ballot to elect representatives of that province onto the National Assembly, and independents are going to be appearing on that ballot. The second ballot for the National Assembly is what we refer to as the compensatory ballot. And that ballot will only be contested by political parties. The purpose of the compensatory ballot is to restore overall proportionality, because the Constitution demands that whatever electoral system there may be in the country, it must, at the end of the day, result in overall proportionality. In other words, the allocation of seats must reflect the proportional strength of each political party in the National Assembly itself. Hence, we have a two-tier system. We have a regional tier and a compensatory tier in the election of the National Assembly. The third ballot then is the provincial ballot, whose purpose is the election of representatives into the provincial legislature. On that ballot, it will contain political parties as well as independent candidates. How many parties are there? At the last count, there were just over 350 parties who can nominate candidates. But as we indicated in the statement, the deadline for the submission of list of candidates is the 8th of March. And on the 8th of March, parties must pay their election deposits, must submit their list of candidates, must give us a notice that every person who's on the list of candidates is compliant, and that they are bound by the election timetable. And then there's a whole process then of publishing those lists, receiving objections, evaluating those objections against the Constitution and the law, and then finally publishing those lists on the 12th of April to tell the country, actually on the 10th of April, to tell the country who the candidates are who have qualified to stand for election this year. The voters' roll, we do indicate in the statement that we are doing a number of validations and verifications, checking against the National Population Register and so on. As at the last count, we were at 27.6 million. At a point where we certify the voters' roll, we will provide you with the analysis of how many young, how many old, the different age demographics, which province, female, male, that we will do upon certification of the voters' roll.
Thank you so much, CEO and commissioners. I'm going to take the last round of questions before we close the briefing. If there are any other matters of clarity. Zukana?
Zukana Chano from Newsroom Africa. In terms of objections that political parties or whoever can submit, can you give us some examples of objections that people have submitted in the past? What kind of things do people normally raise, even to a point where they go to they approach the courts with the IEC before the election date?
Hello. A group of parties with the EFF, the UDM, and some other parties, I think they wrote to the IEC today. They said that the timetable is unjust because they still need to gather all the signatures from people to, yeah. What is the IEC stance on that? Have you received the letter?
Any other question? Okay, there's a question at the back. Please proceed.
Hello, my name is Eric Naki from The Citizen. I would like to know, in terms of the political parties that have been taken to court because of their names, because of the problem of names, you know, like MK Party, and the question of how far is that process in court? I understand last time we spoke here, it was said that this matter was still before courts. Thank you.
We have one question here from the virtual platform. Okay. Amanda Koza, News 24. Please, can you also clarify the signature threshold matter again? I think there seems to be confusion about the number of signatures that are required. Thank you.
All the questions are covered. Let me take one last one before the IEC team deals with those issues. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Pule Lichiti Jones, once again from ENCA. What is the vetting criteria around independent candidates, the vetting criteria? In an instance where a candidate has a criminal record or has been charged before, does this automatically disqualify them? Thank you.
Do I see a hand or you're covered? You're covered. Okay. All right, let's proceed.
Yeah, on that one, as an addition to the question that I asked before, there was you told us that the Electoral Court is supposed to determine whether the IEC was correct in the way it registered MK Party. Has the Constitutional Court determined that yet, whether the registration by the IEC of the MK Party was correct?
Thank you so much. Let me allow IEC to respond. Thank you very much.
So maybe let me deal with the issue of the signatures. I'm not completely certain that I heard well, but it seemed that there is a suggestion that a party, I think the party that was mentioned by way of example was UDM, feels that it's unfair that it has to collect so many signatures, or that it's unfair for others. And then in addition to that, there was a separate question that was asking about the signature threshold. At the moment, as the law stands, and as you know, the Commission can only operate, it doesn't make the laws, it can only operate within the four corners of the law. As the law stands at the moment, independent candidates are required to submit 1,000 signatures in that election for which they intend to contest. In the case of a party that is not represented in any of the legislatures, that party needs to submit 15% of the quota that was in the last election reached, and those figures of what that would be, whether it's in the Gauteng province or for the National Assembly itself, those figures are available and are known and differ from one province and one election to another. That's what the law says at the moment. The matter is before the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court still has to decide whether or not it is going to hear the matter on a basis of urgency. This is not in the hands of the Commission. But as the Commission has indicated in its statement, following proclamation, the Commission has an obligation to issue a timetable, and within that timetable to set processes in motion and in place. It also has to have the necessary systems to do that. So the systems that are in existence and are currently live, and the timetable on the basis of which those systems operate, are systems which anticipate the information being received as indicated. In other words, 1,000 signatures for independent candidates and the 15% quota, depending on which election, for unrepresented parties. Beyond that, the Commission is not in a position to provide, I think, any further certainty or clarity. So a question was then asked in relation to the disputes, and there are two disputes as we understand it, one of which is something that the Commission has been referenced around the naming, the registration and the name of MK Party. The issue of the name itself and the identification is not something that the Commission is cited in. It's a matter that is in the High Court, and it's not something, again, that we can control. It is something that is before that court. With regard to the procedure that the Commission adopted in relation to the actual registration of the MK Party, that matter is currently before the court and the Electoral Court, and we believe that it will be finalized in due course. But again, as we've indicated, we can only proceed on the basis of what we have as part of our current documentation and on the basis of the legislation as it stands. Then the question of objections to candidates, and again the idea of vetting criteria around independent candidates. So the criteria and the basis for the objection to candidates in law is provided for in the Constitution. It's really not something that we can go beyond. And it's something that really is about whether or not candidates qualify in the sense that they are South African citizens, that they are candidates who have not received a prison sentence that is longer than, that is for 12 months or more, and where there's been no option of parole. And these are not things that the Commission can extend or, in any way. The law doesn't provide any further criteria. Historically, we have received objections that have been both within the framework of the criteria and some that have been very much outside the framework of the criteria, and we've processed them accordingly. Any objection that comes to us that is beyond our own competence, in other words, it's not provided for in the law, the Commission is not in a position to uphold, and so those have been dealt with accordingly. And similarly, those that are within our purview are ones that we have investigated and pursued and ruled on accordingly, and that is what we will do in this particular instance. I think that I have covered the different questions, but I'm not sure whether any colleagues want to add. Thank you.
The issue of an unjust timetable, I think, just to give you a sense that almost all parties were represented at the consultative meeting on Friday. And the IC presented a draft for discussion. And that draft was unanimously supported with 2 amendments. The first amendment related to the date on which the notifications to the CEO relating to voting outside of a voting station of registration. That date was initially the 15th of May. In the discussions, it was proposed that it be made the 17th of May. So that was carried unanimously. The second adjustment that was made in the meeting was that the special votes at the voting station must be allowed for both 2 days of special voting. The initial proposal was that 1 day be dedicated for special votes at voting stations and 2 days be dedicated for special votes for home visitations. But the political liaison committee felt that special votes at stations must also be for 2 days, and that was agreed unanimously. So as far as we are concerned, therefore, the timetable on the basis of the consultation that we had on Friday was unanimously supported.
Thank you so much, CEO. Dr. Masuku.
Thank you very much. I just thought I'd also just add just a bit of insight and say that when it comes to the pressure that contestants are feeling about the signature requirement, I think it is important to say that, as the Electoral Commission has said previously, the portal for capturing signature has been open for a bit of time. It actually was opened on the 26th of January of 2024. So contestants have actually had quite some time to begin the process. And so anyone who is preparing to contest the elections should know that once an election date is proclaimed, the train starts moving because we have an election timetable. It's almost like a moving train and you can't stop it. So I don't think it is an excuse to say that the election timetable has caught people by surprise. It shouldn't have caught people by surprise. It is a logical thing that happens once the election is proclaimed. We have a timetable, and once that happens, you've got a series of things that happen. So I think from where we are sitting, all that we're saying is that they should continue and press on and collect those signatures as earnestly as they can, because those timetables those dates, those targets that are in the election timetable are actually cast in stone. So the train is moving. Let's move along together.
On that note, thank you very much, Dr. Masuku, for clarifying the issue. Our information is available on our website for the media, all our WhatsApp groups. We'll share as much information as possible if there are any issues outstanding. On behalf of the IEC, I think we've covered most of the hands in the room, as well as the hands online. The tech team is confirming that they're no longer hands online. COO, commissioners, thank you so much for your time. We'll keep engaging the nation as there are developments. To the crew and folks from the media, thank you so much for the support. We truly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Chichelus.